Beat to the Fire with the Black Knight of Talk Radio, James Jancik, is the technical production of IPS MediaWorks and aired on the Jancik Radio network of stations. The views expressed in the following show are of the host, the guest, and the callers, and not necessarily the views of Interstreams Radio, IPS MediaWorks, the Jancik Radio Network, nor its advertisers and affiliates. The content of the following show, its accuracy, authenticity, and the ramifications of the use or application of said content is the responsibility of those speaking and listening, not the broadcast medium.
One thing I've learned, if you don't hold their feet to the fire, everybody gets burned.
Hold on. Before you start waving around that freedom of speech thing, when you're in a crowded movie theater and you scream fire, you better be able to smell smoke. If you come on this radio show and you start saying incandescent things like that, you better have more behind you, pal, than just your thumb. I've been listening to talk radio for years, and one thing I just can't stand is when the host has to, push his way on the people, beat the callers into his way of thinking, extending his ego, or when the callers call in and say something so outrageous and the host lets it go unchallenged. The sign you're on the road to truth is the lack of contradiction. You want to find truth, you just don't simply believe somebody because of their authority or their degree, or you listen to what they say, you test it against reality, and you hold their feet to the fire.
All right, we are back. And we are live. Feet to the fire. I'm your host, James Jancik, the Black Knight of Talk Radio. I like doing the radio thing, so we're going to do this unless video is warranted. If I have a lot of stuff to show you, I'll do a video. Or if a guest comes who has Skype or some other, in the studio or what have you. That way, it makes it a lot simpler and easier, and it's nicer, too. I can let my hair down, so to speak. Anyway, we're back in live. I'm also just move the server around. Get some business first. While you guys are tuning in. Move the servers around. I think it's all working. There might be some links that are bad yet on the old Feet to Fire site. I will work that out. But I got the bulk of it up and running because I've been trying to use email newsletter. Simple thing, right? You would think it's a simple thing, but there's all kinds of spam alerts and whatnot. And for that matter, I believe you're going to end up, once you sign up for the newsletter on the website, feet2thefireradio.com, once you sign up for that, it'll probably go in spam. So you might want to check your spam. But once you unspam it, it'll be fine. I don't know what to tell you. I could go pay for a professional newsletter, but it's just not worth it. Just going to say a few things, and if you really want to get the newsletter, you'll dig it out of spam once. And maybe it won't. It depends. I tried using Gmail as my test deal, and it went in a spam bin. I have two different Gmail accounts, one for work, and I tried them both, and they both went in a spam the first time around. But once you unspam it, it's fine. So feet2thefireradio.com. Off to the left and down, you will see a place where you can put your email in. You will get an email that you need to respond to, and once you respond to it, you're in. And probably that'll go in your spam. So once you unspam that, you'll be fine. The reason why I want the response and all that is because there are real strict rules about spamming and whatnot. Though somehow I managed to get spammed like crazy. I don't know where the rules are when it comes to them, but there is. I don't need to get kicked off the server. So when I was doing my own actual, real, honestly dedicated server, it was just, I was my own boss, so to speak. But anyway, there's still laws regardless. But all right, so that's that. So if you sign up for a newsletter, that's probably the best way I can get a hold of you. Unless you want to go to Facebook, you go to Feet to the Fire Radio Facebook page or my personal Facebook page, which is james.a.jancik. You probably just put my name in there and it'll come up, or James Jancik. That way, or you can still go to YouTube, because what we're testing here is supposedly Spreaker will upload to YouTube the audio show with a video mask on it or whatever. So it automatically will go there. Now, the problem is if people are used to listening on YouTube live, I'm not there at the moment. But audio only would be, it's a whole other program and stuff to set up. So it'll go there. I did send out, if you are on YouTube and you are subscribed and you hit that little bell button, I put out a message out on the channel with the links to listen to the show live audio. So you could, should have gotten loaded there. But with all this stuff going on, I've been shadowed and all that other stuff, even though, I don't have 90,000 listeners or viewers or whatever. Still, I guess the content gets out there, and once they flag you. But this way, if you get the newsletter, that should work out. Other than that spam issue, that should work out. Also, what's it called? Now I'm having a brain freeze. Gosh, I can't even think of my own thing. Well, I'll get to it. There's another YouTube. BitChute, CHUTE, BitChute. That's another deal where whenever YouTube is uploaded, they pull it from YouTube and put it there. But that has nothing to do with YouTube other than it sucks it from it. And people who want to deal with Google, and believe me, I understand. The only reason why I'm even bothering with this stuff with doing this show and all that. I mean, I don't like the whole Facebook. I had a big runaround with PayPal because they were automatically sending all my receipts through Facebook Messenger. I'm like, wait a minute, I don't want that. I know it's, quote, private, but it's not really private. So I got a big roundabout with PayPal that just you couldn't turn it off. So I went to Twitter and started hollering, and they ended up sending me a link that it did turn it off, or at least I'm not seeing it. Maybe it's still going to them, but it's private. So I'm noticing on Twitter, I configured this to automatically put out a tweet when I go live. Well, and I got a picture of Charlie on there. I was fooling around with pictures, trying to understand. I got Charlie in there. Yeah, poor Charlie. Charlie's like 15 years old now, and he's Jack Russell Poodle mix. That's taken back in, probably 2008, maybe 10 years ago. But he's now blind in one eye and can't see out of the other, literally. And he's about half the hearing loss. He's still walking around. He's got the house memorized, and it's kind of you get a little teary, you think about it, the poor thing, but he's like mapping out the house. He's got like a route that he figured out. I mean, he sees shadows, I presume, lights and dark. He'll go to the light. He'll hear the sound and triangulate. So I mean, he's still working on it. And I thought about looking into getting eye surgery for him. Again, you really can't afford it, of course, but that shouldn't be. You got to do what you got to do. But he's so old. I'm being told. I don't know. If it would be too stressful for him in the surgery. But I'm gonna look into it. Maybe I'll have a GoFundMe for Charlie, the Wonder Dog. Help out. Anyway, that's why I'm looking on there, and I'm seeing Charlie on there as the post, and I'm like, whoa, how did that happen? So that explains that. I'm trying to get the other stuff. Really, it's the website is the thing. My brother helped me working with it. Got it on a different server. Things are getting, let's just say they're getting extremely financially problematic. I had the truck repaired again, and fuel's up and pays down, and so I'm doing some rerouting of things here. Still getting the job done, and that's what counts. So, feettothefireradio.com. I'd like that to be the main source for stuff. I will post up on Facebook and these other places while I may. And we'll take it from there. Let's see, I wrote down some things. Forgot a few, so. All right, a C60. Update on a C60. I've been doing it a couple weeks. Didn't do a show last week. Did one now. Doing one now. So I got about 3 weeks. There was interesting when I started taking it with a couple days. My first dose I mentioned. I got a little, I don't know what to call it, a little buzz, a little high, a little dizzy, not dizzy, but like that rush. Yeah, like a head rush for, 10 seconds, 20 seconds maybe, And within another day or so, I was, what would be the word? Crap in black. Let's just put it out there, okay? Sorry for the crap in black, and that got better. Then it was a downturn. Well, I should say, during that time I felt pretty lousy, but I've detoxed before, so I figured out, okay, that's what that is. So then that got better, but then I got kind of lousy again. Now I don't know if this is coincidence or not. I mean, I woke up like in a panic or something or whatever. And that passed, and I'm still doing it. So I'm doing good. I've lost some weight. I mean, I'm not really. At the time, I'm not trying to lose weight. I'm just not hungry. So I'm losing weight, which I definitely need to do. I think that the I don't know. It's an all around, but to me that's too fast for this to be happening. I mean, when I looked up on this stuff, it just seems like it's placebo mania, because it seems that it's just too fast. But it does. It is what it is. So if this is what it is, then great. So C60. I took the coconut version. There are several ones available. I've had a little discussion, which I put a link in a couple. Not this show, the last one, with a person who was saying that olive oil is the only way to go, and they just gives a bunch of reasons. So I'm just sharing that. But I mean, if this is the case, and if it doesn't work with non-olive oil, then what's going on with me? I should probably just say it's placebo. So that is. So that's that. I want to mention about the taxes. I've been getting reading things about people are being surprised about their taxes being so high after the Trump tax break. Remember, this is the Trump tax break for the rich. Let's remember that little tagline on there from there. And when looking into it, apparently one of the problems is there is a cap on local taxes that you can deduct before whatever your local taxes, state and federal city's taxes, if you have a city tax. I mean, the city income tax, you could deduct that, but there was a limit. I mean, unlimited. But now there's a limit of $10,000, I believe it is. I was talking to my sister about this and asking her about it because she was really into this tax thing. And I was talking to her rather than spending too much time poking around. But when I did poke around, I did find a lot of people are complaining. But the common denominator seems to be, which leads me into the story coming out of New York, is that the cap on the local tax is the problem. So what we're talking about, people who have a tax exposure of over $10,000 a year in taxes, which is 5 times or more, maybe 4 times more than what I'm exposed to. And so for those who say it's a tax on the rich, well, or a break for the rich, here's some rich who are complaining. And, of course, who's some of the highest taxes in the world? Well, the nation is New York, California, and and Chicago is used to call Chicago the second city, thus the comedy show, but it's probably like the third city. You got New York, you kind of got the conglomerate of, the L.A., San Francisco, and all. You got all those kind of deals. We'll say L.A., and then you have Chicago. But the taxes are really high because you have the Chicago tax, you have the Cook County tax, and then the state tax, and then the federal tax. So when you put it all together, bingo, you're a winner. Or a loser, actually. So it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny that you have the tax break for the rich, yet now we have people who would be rich by, let's say, the general standards of the the world or the country. Paying $10,000 a year for taxes. Those people might not think they're that rich, but when you compare it into the masses. But then again, you always got to throw out there the top 1% pay something like 50% of the tax or what have you. So anyway, so that is interesting. In Illinois, Chicago. Oh, all right. So that actually that was all the background. The main thrust is New York is thinking about charging an exit tax. Same with Chicago. For people are moving out because they can't take it. It's too much money living there, too much problems, so they're moving out. And so Cuomo is blaming Perry Como. Cuomo is blaming Trump's taxes. Of course, being a Democrat, you got to blame Trump for everything. I got gas today. Trump. It's Trump. Saying that the taxes are driving people away because they can't deduct them anymore. Well, on one hand, I'm not a tax guy, so you should be able to deduct everything. But on the other hand, it's like, so I'm paying less tax, but so that I could be paying more because they pay less. So people are complaining about it. So Cuomo's blaming that. Also, Chicago's planning on looking into that, an exit tax, so that if you're going to leave the city, there's a tax on selling your house based on you leaving the city. And I think, and I could be wrong, there's a tax to talk about if you sell it and you leave the city. Yeah, so that they call it exit tax. I looked it up on the web. There was some talk here, but it was from end of last year is when they were talking about it, so I don't know if they dropped it or whatever, but I was looking up these ideas for the taxes because I got a little concerned. For me, doing my taxes, I was hoping to have a little break out of this, but okay. So not to beat a dead horse or a horse. I already gave my impressions of Q, and if you think Q is onto something, that's fine. I mean, I'm not going to argue it, but I was thinking the other day of things that actually give an indication that there might be some change in the wind, a change in the air, or something like that. There might be something going on. And one of the things that I was thinking about is this Smollett guy being arrested. Now, you got to put it in context. This guy allegedly staged a plot to have two Trump, presumably they were going to be presented as white men, two white Trump supporters who are going to noose, fake hang him or attempt to hang him, but then he got away, and bleach him, so presumably to change his color, I guess. And I'm thinking like, this is Chicago, right? I've been in the Chicago area all my life. I mean, I'm 30 miles away from it, but and I'm thinking like, so you got some guys out there at 2 a.m. with a noose and bleach, and it was very cold, and so then they were gonna hang this guy. Now I presume they knew who he was, which is why he was there. They were there at that time. He knew where he was going to be, and so rather than just kind of walking, hey, let's go for a walk. Hey, don't forget to bring that noose and bleach with you, so just in case, So I'm presuming, it was a plan, and so they do this. I probably somewhere along the way, somebody's tried to bleach someone's color in a racist attack. It doesn't work. Okay, so I mean, I don't get it. So I don't know if there's a precedence for this, and maybe there is. I'm not making fun of it, but is there a precedence for it? Or maybe this is what he's thinking. What would a racist white guy want to do? Well, I think he'd want to bleach out the color. Yeah. I'm kind of looking at it going, is that his concept of what a racist white guy would do? Or is there a precedence? And maybe. I guess I should have looked that up. So anyway, they do have cameras everywhere. Now, there's bad I'm not real thrilled with cameras, but, there's a good point about them, and here's one of them. So they were able to actually see the guys who did it, and they found out that they're black. They checked them around. They talked with them, blah, blah, blah. So the bottom line is it was exposed that he planned this, allegedly. And I will say he fought it up to the last minute. I guess they're still saying he didn't do it or what have you. So then he does this, and then he gets caught. And now you got to understand, this is Chicago, which is about as democratic as you can make it. I mean, back with Daley, the old man Daley in the 60s, this state was so democratic. I remember as a kid going with my parents when they were vote, they had these big voting machines. You go behind a curtain, and then there's little toggle levers. You would click them down for the ones you voted. When you were done, then you flip this big lever, and it would count the votes, and all the toggles would go back up. And the joke was that once the polls closed, the precinct captains would go in there and see who didn't vote on the list and then start toggling things and voting. Of course, it's nothing new. Democrats now, they just come up with a bunch of, it's 3 days after the voting deadline. We found all these votes. It just so happens 85% of them are Democratic, but some things never change. But Chicago is about as Democratic as they come, and yet you have, and even the Chicago, I don't know if it was a chief. I don't pay attention to Chicago politics, but it was on the news. Said that what do you think would be fair for him? Fair justice for Smollett if he is Smollett. I actually don't know. Yeah, Smollett, I think it is. What would be a fair price? And he said, we put a lot of resources out there. So even then, instead of saying, yes, there's laws in the books that says if you report a crime, you report a fake, you lie about reporting a crime, this guy or guys would have been arrested if they would have found someone to fit the bill and tried and convicted, then these innocent guys would go to prison for this crime, and you lied for it. Then you throw on the extra little sauce on the top for a hate crime. It would have been called a hate crime, which means they would have made it even worse. So this guy is planning to do a hate crime, which would foment racial unrest even worse than it is. So there's a lot of weight behind this whole thing. So you're in Chicago. The guy, the spokesperson, is already trying to go, if he just paid back the money we spent, that might be, there's something. And yet he is arrested. He is indicted. Of course, I know indictments was it the ham sandwich deal? I've heard that 100 times. And if he goes on trial in Illinois and is convicted on these counts and actually spends hard time, I will be impressed that some things are changing in the wind. This would be something, not coming arrests and trials in Guantanamo and all that stuff. That's all in the best ambiguous future and at the worst fantasy, right? You need to see, right now we're seeing, I posted once that people said, a failed coup. I go, it doesn't look like it failed yet. To me, failed. Again, I guess I'm a stickler in ways for the language is failed means over. They are continuing. As far as you look at what would be a result of failed coup, well, you would have no longer going after Trump. There wouldn't be any investigations anymore. Or all this stuff would go away because it would have failed. It's not. Mueller's report's supposed to come out, and all the pre-leaking is that it's getting prepared for a letdown, and it should because there's nothing there. But in the event that it isn't, or there will be some things that can be used, the House is all getting poised and ready to do an impeachment. Now, it won't go through the Senate, I don't think anyway, unless they went out. Right now, you could bet that all the best private investigating services are now, or for that matter, the FBI and NSA are investigating all the Republican senators and see if they can get anything on anybody to make them twist their arm if that comes up. But let's presume that it won't happen, and that will happen. But they're looking now in his past records for 15 years. Imagine going into your records for 15 years, looking for something completely unrelated to Russia. I mean, it would be a bonus if they found something related to Russia. But I mean, no, unrelated to Russia. Oh, he took this deduction here and he couldn't do it. Oh, he's got to be impeached. We got to get him out of there. To me, the coup is still hot and heavy. Now they have failed at various ways of doing it along the way. They have tried to not get him elected. They tried to not get him elected by the Electoral College. They tried to not get him sworn in. They've done all these things along the way and have failed in each attempt, little subgroup of this general coup. But it's still going on. They're still trying. Now they're failing, but they haven't failed. And that's why I think I'm being particular on this, because this is huge. This is historic. Never happened before. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it happened in 1790. I don't know. I mean, talking about last 100 years or whatever, going back to, in my lifetime anyway. It hasn't failed. This is huge. This is a big deal, and it's still going on. And Smollett being arrested, and, the mainstream media, of course, playing it down or not talking about it. I shouldn't say playing it down. Maybe more like not talking about it. And some are still going, hey, no, they're backing him. So that process is going on. But if he is convicted in a court of law, especially if of course, they're going to start counting race of each juror or what would the judge and all the various identity politics stuff. But that's impressive to me. And if McCabe, that one is like he's actually been indicted. Okay, so there's one. Another one on my list is like McCabe. If he's being investigated, we know he's being investigated, criminal investigation. Right? If he's actually indicted and tried and charged and convicted and serves time, I'm going to be more impressed. And if you go through the Alexis Comey and Brenner for lying to Congress and lying to that, now we're talking more and more impressed. See, that to me that's progress of going forward. Now I want to bring up the whole idea of arrest and going to Guantanamo. The House would impeach Trump in a heartbeat. I almost said for ham sandwich. I guess that mixed up with the indictment. So they're already poised. They want to. They're just waiting for something they can grab onto. And if they'll just make it up, they're already got him being a racist, crazy, and all this stuff. Competent. So just think if he goes out and orders the arrest. They just got a new attorney general, too, who presumably would have to be on board with this. And his record is somewhat neoconish. So, but if he ordered this without the attorney general to arrest these people and convict them, because it's of the technicality, yes, we're under war powers. Yes, military tribunals are legal. In fact, in a kind of an odd thing, Lindsey Graham asked that to the Sadists. See, the trouble is I'm stumbling here because I'm seeing their face, and when I see the face, I can't say their name. So this is why you'll never see me on the mainstream networks, or I shouldn't say mainstream, but so the question was asked whether or not you know this and is it legal, and yes. So that was kind of odd. All right, so that's see, they're going to do it. They asked the Supreme Court judge, and he agreed that it is legal and has precedence. But if Trump, let's just take Trump stubs his toe, and it's a racist toe, right? He orders fried chicken. He's either pandering to the blacks or he's eating unhealthy. I mean, I'm being facetious here, but not too much. So imagine if Trump writes an executive order to arrest, people like Pelosi, Schumer, and these guys on sedition. And I'm not even saying it wouldn't be. I'm not saying it wouldn't necessarily be real. It's valid. But you would have the House in the second voting to impeach him. And now you're going to have the people in the Senate, they're just passing a resolution or trying to pass a resolution. Maybe they passed it. I haven't watched the news today. Rand Paul, who's my man to take over for Trump, he decides to go along with saying Trump shouldn't override the legislative branch in funding a project when they won't do it, which is, I don't know. That's just, to me, I'm like, what? You can mention the wall for several reasons. That's not one of them. You can compose them. So, just imagine if he just I'm going to arrest a bunch of the elected officials and their appointed people in the FBI, the CIA, and the House and Senate. I'm going to arrest them, have them tried in Guantanamo by a military tribunal, and some are calling for execution. Can you see how fast they would pass impeachment? It would be like, you would have anybody who had a doubt in their mind would vote yes. Any people who didn't have a doubt would vote yes, right? And then you would have literally with the military be backing this, and then now it's official banana republic, quote unquote. I wonder if that's considered racist. Say that, I don't know. But now you have a full blown deal here, so that's why I look at that and it'd make a great movie, great novel, but I just don't see that playing out in the real world. The cost is failed. If what he did failed or was challenged legally and he lost, now he is in prison. Now he's in prison. Now they could possibly hang him, or whatever the. So that's why I don't go with that. But again, going back to the good news here, we got the Smollett being charged, being indicted. You have the McCades. There'll be an investigation. I still don't see people standing there saying things like we're doing this. It's very quiet. So if they do take on these individuals, like I mentioned, McCabe and Comey and so on, they're being very quiet and close, holding it close to their vest, and doing it. So if they do it, it's in other words, what I'm trying to say in my stumbling way is, it doesn't look good to me. I mean, I was just talking with a friend who was a Canadian citizen. He's talking about Trudeau actually did obstruct justice, and he may be on his way out. And there's a conservative branch of a style of people waiting to take over, be voted in. People are getting fed up with it. So, okay, that's good. Let's see, that's a good sign. Okay, it's a good sign. Now, if that actually happens, reality kicks in. He's knocked out. They get in conservative things. And around the world, you got people being voted in. That's good. Those are good pointing things that there is a spirit, if I can not use it in a religious sense, undercurrent in the world of against the world domination and whatever. So those are all good things. That's part's encouraging. But when you have the mainstream media who has all this stuff tied up, screaming all the time about this, not saying anything that's good, now the banning, shadow banning, and whatever you want to call that stuff, the euphemisms for censorship they're using on social media. And the answer is not just to go to like Minds or Gab, which I am there, but the answer is not to simply go into a conservative ghetto, if you will, because it would allow them to just pull the plug. I'm going to remind people how the internet works. If you don't have a name, no one can find you. Now, the people who are Unix-based in the background will say, yeah, they could type in the Unix codes. Maybe. I've been doing experiments with that. Sometimes the codes don't go through. It's blocked by the either the servers or the routers that I went through. They want the words to go through. So they pull your domain. And remember, ICANN, Obama gave that to the world. So ICANN comes in and says, no, we're going to pull your domain name because your content is hateful. Being what conservative is supposed to be. And this already happened with Gab. Their Gab.ai was going to get pulled because of the free speech they had. And well, how do you know minors won't get it? And we can't support this. Minors may accidentally see something. So they come up with a volunteer system where you would rate your post. And if you they have a system to to take complaints and just kind of look around and deal with it. But this is what could happen. So you don't want to go to your own place. You don't want to segregate. You want to homogenize. You want to be out there in the system, because this way they don't just pull Facebook, which they may end up doing anyway. It may not be worth their while. They might just go down, to hell with it all. In fact, it is a pain to deal with all those. So, I mean, the Smollett thing I think is good, and if it ends up going into a McCabe being charged and whatnot, now we're talking good. Trump not releasing the FISA documents, I don't get it. Either he's doing this 340 chest thing, or I don't know, he's been told not to by somebody and he's taking their advice. I don't know. Back to my list. Future. There's some people around for a long time who have been talking about future events. Dave Wilcock being one of them. The web bots and other people and so forth. I've had George on Feet to the Fire, who is associated with the web bots and on his own, and I've heard Cliff High say things. In fact, I wanted to have Cliff High on to talk with him because he was on the show before about the things he said on the show that it was going to happen and didn't. But he doesn't. Sunny nights, I guess, isn't good for him. But the point is people. Wilcock is another one that has come up with a whole bunch of stuff. People want to know the future. Psychics and whatnot, they want to know what the future is, and so people want to know, so they listen to them. And it becomes some kind of hook. And I don't know if there's a spiritual hook that gets you in there, or if it's just simply addictive from his personality. But the problem with the future is nobody can tell the future. Nobody knows the future because it's not made yet. Anybody who says, and of course I know people, well, how do you know that? Well, I've been to the future. No. This is the logical deductions of the future is created by what goes on in the present. Now, the past influence what goes on in the present, and so the past can influence the future. So the past generally becomes the future unless in the present something has changed that was present in the past, ideas or attitudes or whatever. So the point is the future is not made. There isn't the future. No one knows the future. If you want to get biblical on it, you want to talk to Jesus, no one knows the future but the Father, not the Son. That means him. And nobody knows what the future is except God does, because he is both in and out of creation. He's like the whole ball of wax. So, of course, he knows. And in the beginning, God had said it's going to be fine. But, what if someone says, yeah, you're going to go to your friend's house, you're in Chicago, you're going to go to New York to visit your friend's house, and you will get to your friend's house fine. But in between, you're robbed, your car breaks, and all that. But you do get there fine. You get there, and I am in one piece, I'm healthy, so the idea of the fine. So the future is not made. So when people say, well, what's going to happen is the only thing they can do, and some people have been accurate because they're viewing the trends. And unless something changes, this is the momentum and trend that's going. But in any time and anywhere, something can come out of left field, unforeseen, boom, and come in there. And it could completely change the course of what's going on. That's why there's no way to tell the future. So when people say, whether it's Q or whether it's web bots or a psychic or all these people that say, well, this is what's going to happen. God's plan. That's another one that's bad. God's plan. No one even understands God, let alone his plan. The best I've come up with, and this is why I'd like to be asked questions on it, because I've sat and argued myself with these things. I've come up with working models. God's will is for us to choose the right. In other words, God's will is for us to do what he would want us to do with the wisdom and knowledge and both fore and future knowledge he has. He wants us to do what he wants us to do. He does not make us do it. If something happens because we don't follow the best possible path, that is because that's why it's not the best possible path, because something happens. Something that's going to happen and cause trouble. Well, you shouldn't steal. because you can go to prison, you can get killed in the process or maimed and all that. Yeah, so if you go to steal and you go to prison, it's not God necessarily doing anything. I always say necessary because I'm never going to say what God is going to do and not do. But it's built into the system, and then that's how I reconcile it. The future is built into the system. It's like a big cog rolling, and we are the people who make choices. The time rolls forward, the cogs roll forward, but we make the choices. So in other words, it's not. It's more like our choices is on the path that we're going forward. It's like this is where our power comes in. It goes, how are you going to make it? Now, there's other people involved, of course, and they can affect your life. So you have the individual, and then you have the people around you, and then you have the guy who comes out of left field with the car and hits you, whatever. You have all of these factors going on forward. But the general flow is going to be a certain thing. And the goal here is also not to live forever, but to live properly so we can move on to the next level, which is, but compared to us anyway, forever. So this is why when they talk about what's going to happen in the future and they got it right, when they, in the Q's case, he's not a predictor. He's not like a psychic, but he's got inside information. But these are still human beings. So, if something happens unforeseen, that changes the whole thing. So, that's why you can't, I'll be there Sunday to see you. Or, I'll come over Monday night. Yeah, I'll be there. Oh, I broke my leg. I can't make it. It doesn't mean I was lying. It doesn't mean it was inaccurate. What I said, I was absolutely going to plan there. You were, but circumstances came in from left field and changed it. So I think how God would intervene, let's say, in space-time, is with information so that you could make the right choices. I don't mean like a note with information on it, though, again, I would rule nothing out. But the point is that we have to choose it. Right now, what's going on with the government is government by and for the people, and you read the document, we're the ones in charge. Then what do we do? I mean, what do we do? Do we clog the streets? 5 million people just clog the city of Chicago and say we're not moving until something gets done? Well, yeah, I mean, that would be a good way to do it if that was possible. It's not possible anymore. It's got to set up that people who are working and doing it, they can't take off work to go protest downtown. They got to work. And some people have worked themselves either by accident, by things happening or the responsibility. They can't take off work. Or they have too many, families, hospital, whatever it is. And they've made it, they ever, with the quotes around it, have made it so that it's hard for us to do anything because, first off, we have identity politics. We're all like broken up into race, religion, economic class, sports teams for that matter. So it's a hard, difficult thing. So this is why people don't want to hear this stuff. I don't want to hear it. I'm a people. Is because it's not comforting. The only thing that comforts me is knowing that I do the best I can, and I trust in the grace and love of God. So when I die, I'll get the H out of here, and hopefully on the way I view the next level on the positive side is that it will all the junk will be removed. You won't have to eat, you won't have to drink. We don't have to work to survive. You can, the energy will be there to go ahead and create and so on. And so this is the what they're trying to wave over you when it comes to the new systems that are out there, the zeitgeist and whatnot. They're trying to kind of give you that. But power is always going to be here. And when you have power, you have psychopaths, you have problems. Because it doesn't matter what you do. You can create the greatest thing there is, and eventually psychopaths will infiltrate it because they want power. And if it's religious, that's even great, because now you can hide behind religion. If it's an ethnic-based thing, that's great because you can hide behind it. Whether it be Anti-Defamation League or whether it be the ACLU, whether it be I don't know, with the NAACP, whether it be the Association of, Southern Baptists, I don't know, whatever. There's going to be people attracted to the power, and by putting on the sheep's clothing across it is a perfect cover for it. So, in the same, I should say governments. So that's why, when people say about Israel or Palestine or Russia all governments are evil. All governments, 100%, are all evil. Not all people, but most. The more powerful it is, the more evil they are, because they took more to get up that high. You had to become more evil to get that high. And, every so often there's people that get through who aren't, and it's a rarity. But most are stopped at the door. Look what they're doing to Trump. Any person would be like, I'm out of here, man. I'm not going to deal with this. Anybody who's thinking of running for president saw what they did to Trump, and he was going to carry on in a Trumpian tradition, but perhaps doing it with their own spin or class or whatever. I could. Are you crazy? I'm not going to walk into that hornet's nest. He's lost net worth. He's constantly being, harassed. His family's being mistreated. It's ridiculous. And now they subpoenaed, 80 people? People who don't even have the documents they even want. I just saw a guy talking. I don't got anything they want. Everything that I gave to the Mueller. Go look what he's got. What are you asking me for? Now they got to pay for all the... So what they're doing is they're harassing all these people. And so trying to goad them into turning on Trump just to, or Trump doing something. Get him to do something so they can go, 25th Amendment, 15th Amendment, impeachment. And it's so obvious. And, it's not even saying, this is not even about Trump. It's about what all is surrounded. So this is why I'm cautious when people say, this is good. And any day now, I'm like, I don't know if you remember, if you're listening to the show, you will, but I came up with an arbitrary date in April of last year with all the talk of stuff happening in February. I said, let's say they're going to talk about arrests, you're going to do all this stuff. Okay, how about we'll shoot for April 1st, no pun intended, that if it doesn't happen, then it's not going to happen. Because people were for sure it's going to happen any day now. It's February, it's going to be March. Here we are. We are. Now, I know if you were going to do that, you got to be very cautious, and it's going to be fluid, and your timing's got to be perfect. I keep thinking of the Godfather, when Michael had to line up he was killing off all the 5 families. He had to line them all up so they all happened while he was in church or whatever. Now, I'm not saying that's what Trump's doing, but he's got to have everything lined up so it can all happen if this is really what's going on. But not with the new AG, I don't think. I mean, he's too. He's in with the neocons. I don't know. Anyway, I don't want to get too much political stuff anymore because I'm getting really tired of it. But this is more of a philosophical aspect of it. And when you look for something, you look for the trends, and the trends are getting worse. Now they have. It's like it's like there's two analogies here. So it's like, you're in the fourth quarter of football. You're down in the score, but you got a magic play that's going to win the game, and it's like, when are you going to do it? Are you going to wait till it's so late in the game that now you have to have almost miracles to get through it? Another thing would be to look at it in terms of when you're trying to do it. You're underwater. You're holding your breath. You're going to go underwater and come up under the ice, let's say, and come up the other end, and you're planning it out. It's like, here's a nice hole. Well, it's not good timing. I'll go to the next one, and then you end up dying. The whole movement could die as well, but just by simply waiting too long. But if you go too fast. That's why people say, what do you think Trump's going to do? I have no idea. What do you think? Do you think they're going to have the arrests and all that? I don't know. I'm going to say it doesn't appear to it. There's no evidence for it. Everything is showing it. Hey, do you think John F. Kennedy Jr. is still alive? Oh, I don't think so. The evidence would point against it, but, the guy may look a lot like him. You know, I mean, you know what I'm saying? This is the stuff that I can't. And this is what a lot of, like a talk show would do, is they would want to go in there. Remember Art Bell? He'd stir the pot up. And a guy come on, I remember one time a guy come on and was talking about a time machine he had, you know. And you could tell Art Bell's, at least I projected, you could tell by his tone of voice that he was full of baloney. But the audience was calling in, and, you know, and the phones were ringing, and he's like, hey, we got a hot one here. I'm going to stoke this fire. So people are like, he had him on for, I was working overnight. Late at night, he had him on like the whole 4 or 5 hours, and people were just outraged at this guy. But that's because they ended up where he brought in the ratings. And don't forget, that's what it is about, ratings. So, not truth. All right, I wrote some more down here. I think I have to get going because unfortunately I have a lousy day tomorrow. I picked up my truck from being repaired, and now there's a kind of a banging underneath it. I'm like, what? When you hit a bump, it goes, you know, and it wasn't there when I left it off. You know, and they said they didn't even look in that area. I mean, they weren't there, but I left a message with them. All right, so we didn't look under the truck. We were working up at the top and everything. So that, plus I got to get up early and I got a mess. So I'm going to go here. Email James at feettothefireradio.com. Email questions. Email questions, comments. If you have specific questions, if you have guests you'd like to talk about, please do. Many of my guests have been from suggestions rather than me researching. And, if you got comments about the whole Spreaker thing I'm doing, you really want to see me talk on video, even though I'm not doing much, I'll do it. I mean, I don't need, a lot of people do this stuff. When I watch the videos, and they're looking at the video, they're watching them on, and they're going, yeah, that's me. I'm on video. Hey, I got another listener. Oh, I got another person tuning in. I just can't deal with that. So being pragmatic about it. Anything else, just give me a email. And also, if you want, I've done this now with several people. There's got Bob in Jersey. Talk to him. There's people I could talk to while I drive too, if you have an interesting conversation. So I think we'll leave it at that, and we'll see you next time. I'm gonna have to turn this volume down. We switch over here because I have my my ending thing, and it has some copyrighted material in it. I got to get rid of it. I got to go past that because otherwise I'll get it. Here we go. All right, I got to get past that. All right. Here we go. All right, we'll be back. We'll see you. Reach for the skies within. Feet to the fire.
My old friend, the one who walked before, the one who walked again, the ancient one of old, with wisdom for the new. Revive our inner sight, retell your timeless truths. Oh, ancient one.
Feet to Fire is a production of IPS Media Works on the Jancik Radio network of stations.